Max likes this very much.
Welcome to
Coffee with Toffees.
Let's do this!
Good evening and welcome to a fresh brewed episode of Coffee with Toffees. I am your host, as always, Toffees. You can find me at Toffees_Dota2 for all of your needs, news, and otherwise. And I'm proud to say that our show here is brought to you today by a couple of sponsors that support small esports creators, and that is Dotacasters.com, where you can find a caster from an amateur to a pro to cast your game. So make sure you hire them there. Razor, creator of the finest peripherals in esports, who's helped to really put all the equipment in our studio here to make your experience better, and Betway.com, the most trustworthy way for you to invest your own money and make it back on your knowledge of esports. So those are the guys who are making the show possible, and I am joined by our guest today. So today's guest is Statick. You may know him as Alex Gilbert or Statick, really, whichever one works. I'm going to go with Statick. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing really well. What about you?
I can't complain. I'm making a show. It's Friday night. You know, I'm going to have maybe a drink after this and just kick my feet up, because last week was a busy week for me. Next weekend is a busy weekend for me. So this is a nice calm between the storms is probably the best way to say it. Now, you guys might not know Statick. Right now, he is the acting manager for a little team called Root Gaming that is in the North American qualifiers that are getting kicked off on Monday. It's going to be a big show. It's going to be a lot of fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to take you through the tournament roundup, get you caught up on everything that's going on in the Dota scene, because there's a lot of it happening right now. And then after that, we're going to sit down with Alex, and we're going to talk a little bit about what his team's doing to get ready, sort of the pressures that come together with this kind of qualifier system, and what to look forward to going into the following week. So that said, let's jump over so that you can see the roundup, and let's get right into it. Alex, feel free to weigh in on any of this stuff anytime you want to, but we are just going to pile drive, because boys and girls, I've been gone for a week and it has been crazy. Literally tournaments coming out left and right, everyone in a rush to get it in before TI and before the new major system kicks in. And I think that we can probably agree that this is the 2 months where we have seen the most tournaments at the same time in Dota this year. Don't quote me on that, but it certainly feels that way, doesn't it, Alex?
Yeah. Is this actually your first show since you've been back from
I did
Beyond the Summit?
I did do a show. I did the Behind the Summit show, which was a little more of a vlog. I spent some time with Jackie Mao, and he sort of inspired me to just sit down and talk. But this is the first time we've actually done the news. So I think the reception for the Behind the Summit show was good, and I hope you guys have a chance to go back and watch it. I was honest, I think a little bit brutally honest at times about what happened at the BTS house, but it was a wonderful experience, and I am very, very, very excited, or was very excited to share it. For those of you who don't know, I'll share this real quick just so you know what I'm talking about when I say 2 crazy weeks, and that is next weekend. On the 30th, I will be in San Francisco for the CSL Grand Finals to cast it and host it. So if you're in the San Francisco area, you can come down to the Foundry on Saturday the 30th, hang out with myself and What Is Hip, and that is going to be a $6,500 college championship where they're flying college students in from around the country to sort of compete in this. So definitely a lot of fun. Make sure you check it out. And I want a big shout out to the EU, I guess the Super Hub, for hiring everybody so that I got to do this casting gig. So literally third choice for the win, and I will take it. But let's jump into the news. ROG Play It Cool Dota 2 Invitational took place on the 3rd of May. This was Virtus Pro, Alliance, Ninjas in Pajamas, and Lemon Dogs, once known as 4FC. Not a big prize pool, $30,000, which is a little bit funny, right, Alex? Because once upon a time, 2 years ago, if I said it was a $30,000 tournament, all of us would have tripped out and been like, "What? Yeah, I gotta be there for this one."
Yeah, 2 years ago, outside of TI, that was pretty much the biggest you can get.
Absolutely, and now it's like $30,000. Whatever. The big teams don't even show up anymore. I'll tell you who did show up though. Virtus Pro. Virtus Pro came to play, and they dominated everybody. I would go as far as to say it wasn't even close. They went 2-0 against Ninjas in Pajamas, and they went 2-0 against Alliance to just secure themselves the win. No losses. Raffle stomped their way through that tournament and took home the cash. When you look at that lineup, Alex, is that a big surprise for you? Is there anybody you think can stand up to Virtus Pro?
Yeah, I actually thought Alliance could do much better against Virtus Pro, especially given the return of Admiral Bulldog. I think they've been playing really well outside this tournament, and they're probably going to do much better in the TI qualifiers.
I absolutely agree with that. I think that they could do well. And other team that I think could do really well is Ninjas in Pajamas. I think they were just off their game a little bit. I could argue that the smaller prize pool meant nobody really, I don't want to say didn't put their best foot forward, but there was a lot of other tournaments that required a lot of focus at that time. So maybe not their number one thing on their mind. Next tournament that comes up is the D2CL5. That was on the 9th to the 10th of May, and the results were Team Empire resoundingly pushes through a strong lineup. So it was Ninjas in Pajamas, Vici Gaming, Birdie United, and Ninjas in Pajamas. I'm sorry, and Team Empire. I don't know why I said Ninjas in Pajamas twice. Now, I think a lot of us expected VG to do much better at this tournament. They did make it to the grand finals coming through the losers bracket, but they lost 3-0 to Empire. Do you think, Statick, that is a symptom of Empire just being in God mode, or a symptom of VG looking forward to the summit?
I think actually Empire just step up their game every time it's starting to count. Like they're heading towards TI, and they're getting ready for that. They always do really well on lands, and I'm sure they'll still do really well this year. Yeah, so this tournament is just showing that they're on their A game, and they're gonna keep playing well.
They absolutely are on their A game. Though I do often wonder, and I've said this a few times to the folks here in the studio, last year before TI4, I hyped the crap out of Empire, man. I was like their number one fan. I said, these guys are killing it. They're playing fast. They're playing aggressive. They're exciting. And then they just sort of went, and died a horrible, horrible death in TI. I don't know if you remember that or not, but it was really, really frustrating. And I sometimes wonder if Empire is a patch team, a team that really does well at the beginning because they're aggressive, they're not afraid to try things, and they come out swinging. But once the bigger, more cerebral teams start to get a hold of the patch, they seem to fall off a little bit. Have you had a chance to watch Empire at all, or is this...
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to watch them recently, but I think it's safe to assume that going into TI, there's going to be like a whole new meta. People are going to start picking weird stuff in TI, and this is going to be the meta for the tournament. So I think if Empire can get in this situation, they're going to do well because, as you said, they're like really aggressive and they know how to figure the meta quickly.
I agree with that. So hopefully they stay on. I like the guys. I hate to see them fall off as they seem to often do towards the back end of a patch, and I hope that they can maintain this momentum through TI. That takes us to our next tournament, the Red Bull Battlegrounds. I am covering this out of Perfunction because I'm sure all of you watched it. It was a unique format, to say the least. It was something very different. Teams could challenge other teams, and there was like a deflection you could use to send it to somebody else, and it was a really cool format that none of the teams really executed on or played with so much as just said, yeah, we'll challenge this guy. So strategy wasn't really there, which as a lover of the game Survivor and other reality TV shows, I was sort of heartbroken. That said, Secret goes to IG in the grand finals. Secret wins 3-2 and takes home the big prize. That's important because, as we all know, they went to the summit the next week, so it's 2 weeks after, and secured themselves their second major LAN win in a row. How common is that, and what does it say about a team, Alex, when they can secure 2 back-to-back LANs that are maybe not the biggest prize pool in terms of Red Bull, but big in terms of marketing and visibility?
I think, honestly, like winning 2 LANs in a row is like such a big achievement. Winning a LAN is actually like really hard. You can say whatever you want, even if you're a good team. Like in a LAN, you don't have a second chance. Like you lose one game and you're in trouble already. So, like winning 2 in a row is definitely really impressive.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's setting them up for a really beautiful run at the summit. We all saw them put in some great work against VG, who I think everybody agreed was sort of the team to beat at the time. Both Secret and EG sort of had a plan for them. And I think that will drive VG back into the practice studios and get them ready for an even harder fight at the International. So that was the big end of Red Bull. Next one up, and this is a little bit smaller, but for all of our North American viewers, it is very relevant, especially because we have a North American team represented here tonight, and that is the Dota 2 Canada Cup Season 5 has come to an end. The big winners in this tournament were North American Rejects. They beat Boreal Esports 3-2. Was that a surprise to you, Alex?
I I can't really say much about it because I'm actually managing Boreal Esports too. So
Ah,
I wish Boreal would have won. I expected NAR to, like, I gave maybe like 60-40 to NAR, but I still hope that Boreal would take the win. It was pretty good games. Unfortunately, NAR ended up winning. So
so NAR does come through with the win. Boreal put up a fight. Boreal, if you guys don't follow, and I'm not saying this because Alex is here, is one of my teams as... I slate them as one of the most underrated teams in the NAC, and I think that they can perform a lot better than people expect them to, and I think that the Canada Cup was a really great showing for Boreal Esports to go all the way with NAR, and I think that that may, hopefully if they stay together going forward, because I think that you guys had some trouble in the open qualifiers, is that correct?
yeah, we unfortunately lost in the open qualifier. This is such a big wild card, going off with like 700 teams. Like you can't really expect to do 0 mistakes in like a best of one single elimination tournament. The guys, I've talked with them after, and they were really motivated to continue playing even though they wouldn't qualify for TI. So I think in the next weeks, in the next tournaments, you should expect Boreal to do good, because I think these guys are really, really, really good. They're mostly on players, so they're not known to the scene yet, but like they were really successful on players, so they will do good in Dota too.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. They are not that well known individually, but what I've seen from them in the games that I've covered, they are one of those picks that I say keep an eye on. I think that these guys have a lot of potential to develop. So good luck to Boreal Esports. My heart goes out to you. You had a tough qualifier run in the Opens. I honestly thought that they should have been included in the qualifier invites, but that's neither here nor there. We've been through that show, so we will leave it at that. But congratulations, North American Rejects, the team that I think a lot of folks are slating into that second place qualifier position, with a few others competing for it. So we'll see. North American Rejects, a lot of potential, but also a lot of potential for some internal conflict or personality conflicts, I think. So I look forward to seeing how that team builds out. Next tournament that happened, let's see, what are we looking at now? Let's talk a little bit about the TI qualifiers. That's next on my docket. First, I want to bring up the fact that starting on the 25th of May, things essentially go crazy. 25th of May through the 1st of July, we're going to have like 24 hours a day Dota marathons. In fact, it is so crazy that they did away with North and European hubs, and they literally went just to one super hub. From what I understand, James of 2GD Studios, and I don't believe that Valve was involved with this based on the information that has been released, once again, don't know that for sure, has put together the Ulti Hub. This is literally BTS, Join Dota, 2GD, and as they titled it, Friends, to come out and do the big thing. Now, that said, I am a little disappointed that James did say that there was no kitten stream this year, though hopefully he turns that around. They were talking about, I thought it was the best idea ever. I didn't love the kitten stream last year because I think that it was a little bit distracting, but I get why it worked, and I think that if James follows his idea this year, which was to contact a local shelter and set up a kitten stream that takes donations for said shelter to find cats' homes, I think that's a hilarious, wonderful addition to the hub. So hopefully, James, if you're listening, you go through with that because it would be wonderful. But here is the list of talent that will be attending the TI hub, qualifier hub, and I think it's going to be a really great experience. So it's AC, Basekip, Blitz, Capitalist, Draskell, Durka, Gods, Hani, who is listed as a caster analyst, by the way, not a pro, which I thought was interesting. I lost my spot. Coddle Guy, K-Pop or KPT, LD, Merlini, Mout, ODPixel, Purge, Sunsfan, Cinderin, Tobywan, and Zyori. So those are your brainiacs and your hosts. Those are the folks who are going to be there on the panels doing the casting, and that is a veritable who's who of the big dogs in casting. So I look forward to that. I've heard a rumor from Coddle Guy that they may be pulling casts out of a hat, which would be hilarious to see certain people who we never get to see cast together, like, I don't know, Toby and LD do a game. I would very much enjoy seeing that. Observers, go ahead, what were you going to say?
I was wondering, do you actually know how those casters are decided? Because to me, it seems like it's just like Valve decided that, or they gave someone the role to decide whoever's going to be on that list. But I'm actually wondering how this is working.
So what I do know from the list is that BTS, JD, and 2GD were involved. So that covers most of the talent you see on there. Toby, Iori, Purge, Pixel, Merlini, all those guys work for those three studios. And then you've got your sort of random throw-ins, which is Hani, who lives in the regional area, which makes perfect sense. Sunsfan and Cinderin, you can't have one without the other. Dota Cinema is sort of a big go-to house right now. And that really covers almost everybody, except maybe Mott, who has just been working his butt off and definitely deserves to be there. So it just sort of seems like the three studios gathered their troops and put them all together. Now, the question, I think, is where did some of these lounge hosts and things like that come from? Once again, it could be regional. It could just be experiential. It's hard to say, but we are going to have dedicated observers in the form of Pitmuckle, Scriff, and Wepus, which is going to be phenomenal. However, here's my thought, Alex. There are multiple games going on, 24 hours a day, and they only are bringing 3 observers. That seems a little bit crazy to me. Like, I feel like someone's going to die of exhaustion.
It seems like they're not gonna do every game.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, I think, because TI is so big. They really should just get enough people to cast everything and make sure everything is covered. Because there's only one per year. Well, for now. Yeah. So I would hope they cover every game.
Now, it would not surprise me. They do have a lot of good casters also on camera there. If they had maybe Mott do some obs, or if they had dedicated obs on the main stream and the next 2 streams, casters controlled their own cameras. Those are all possibilities. So I don't want to say that we're only going to see one, but there are not a ton of dedicated obs there. Lounge hosts are 2GD, Hotbid, Lumi, Pyrian Flax, Makwanis, I don't know who that is, Miss Snowfox, I don't know who that is, and Shane, Omad, and Shivar. So a very stacked couch, and these folks are literally just going to be there to hang out in the lounge, chat on the couch, and sort of keep viewers entertained between matches. Pros who are going to be there are Bone7, EGM, Sexy Bambo, and Wagamama. And last but not least, apparently someone named Sujoy, who, as I understand it, is a Quake pro. That works closely with James and is a lot of fun to watch. So I don't know who Sujoy is. I'm excited about finding out who this person is by watching the stream. And remember, that's going to be starting up on May 25th. So that's going to be a lot of fun. What do you think? Do you have an opinion? Did you want to see 2 separate hubs, or do you think that this is the way to go?
I think it would have made sense to have one for North America, but I think it's fine too to have only one if they want to really focus the attention on one place. What really saddens me, as you said before, is that Mount Dota is not in this list. He's casted every single tournament I've watched in the past 3 months.
Oh, he's on the list. Mount's going to be there.
Oh, he's going to be there?
He is going to be there. He's listed right under Merlini above ODPixel. It's hard to see him because his name is so short and strange. I don't really understand where it comes from. I should have asked him last time I saw him. Anyway, side note. So that's the talent list. I'm excited that he's going to be there. I think that he deserves it. He's one of the few people there as an independent contractor without sort of a studio of any kind behind him, which is really exciting to see. That said, let's talk about the international briefly. The prize pool has cracked up to $8.8 million. That is almost where it was at the time of TI last year, and the second Immortals aren't even released. Boom! This is literally my mind being blown. Literally, I mean, oh, interesting. Okay, so War Yoshi says Mott means death in Hindi. Interesting, if that's true. This year, every time when we look at the graphs from last year, Alex, every time an Immortal was released, we see a huge spike in prize pool. There's 2 more rounds of Immortals that have not come out yet. Do you think we're going to hit that $15 million goal?
We are going to hit 15 millions, almost guaranteed. As soon as people are going to see the new Immortals, they're just going to go ham and buy whatever level you want compendium. I know people buying compendium levels just because they can. There's not even a reward. They just buy it because, hey, I have a big compendium level.
Well, I will say that Enigma ulti change for, was it level 185 or something, that is a pretty gosh darn cool bracer. So maybe that's the reason they're buying it, but 2 more Immortals to go. I think that 15 million is very doable, if not more. But either way, we are on track to see the largest prize pool in esports history. If $11 million didn't get the world talking, 15, 16, possibly 18 million absolutely will. So guys, we saw ourselves on ESPN last year. This TI could be even bigger and even more intense. So I'm excited about seeing where it goes. All right, we're going to move past that. I want to spend the whole day on qualifiers because we're going to have a lot to cover over the next week. ESL 1 Frankfurt, that's the next big tournament that's going to be going. Teams that are participating in this tournament are Evil Geniuses, Vici Gaming, Team Secret, Alliance, Asus Polar, Invictus Gaming, Team Malaysia, and Cloud9. So Asus Polar is actually Virtus Pro. I forgot that they changed their name back. So this is a pretty big tournament, $250,000 on the line. The one thing that I think is worth mentioning is that C9 earned their way in through the losers bracket to get their LAN spot and showed very strong performance. I think C9 has been sort of on an uptick in this patch, and I look forward to seeing how they perform at ESL 1 against the rest of these teams. I think that they did not represent themselves as well as they could have at the summit, and I'm hoping that ESL gives us a new look at a stronger Cloud9. Let's see. I-League is going to be the next one that we talk about here. I-League 3. So there were some huge upsets in the Chinese qualifiers. A lot of weird things have been going on with the I-League. Teams that were supposed to go not going. Teams not being interested in playing. Which this is kind of a weird thing, right, Alex? Because the prize pool was $300,000 to start. But we saw teams like EG not even try to go.
Yeah, I think maybe that's because the organization had problems in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the prize pool is huge. Like, I can't even believe it. Was there, even for the North American qualifier,
Yep.
I think there was like a big ass prize pool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's up to
even got a part of it.
It's up to $425,000 right now, which is a very, very big tournament. But no one's talking about it because of the fact that if you look at the list of teams that started out the finals, Newbie, Malaysia, VG Potential, LGD, Energy Pacemaker, Alliance, Invictus, and Vici. How many Western teams are on there? One. Alliance is the only Western team that jumped into the quarterfinals of this tournament, and they were just knocked out. So we're at a point where it's almost it is entirely Eastern teams. The big surprise of the tournament for me, though, is Team Malaysia. Team Malaysia has slugged their way through this thing and are now looking at LGD Gaming. Basically, if they beat LGD and VG, they can win this tournament. So they are essentially in third place right now, and that's pretty impressive, I think, for Team Malaysia.
Yeah, they have a lot of superstars, people that play TI, they have experience, they know how to win Dota.
Absolutely. I do want to point out Whack Attack over in the Twitch chat did just say he made the point that $300,000 isn't that much if it's 300,000 fictional dollars, which
Yeah.
you know they may pay you eventually. So I thought that was an interesting observation. Well played, sir. All right, the last tournament I do want to talk about before we get a chance to sit down with Alex and talk about the qualifiers is we're going to roll over to Dream League 3 that is underway. The league phase of the Dream League is almost done. It finishes on Saturday. The top 6 teams in the league will advance to the LAN finals, while the bottom 2 will be eliminated. So right now on the top of the list is Alliance, Empire, and Ninjas in Pajamas. From what I understand, they have already secured their qualification based on their performance. Virtus Pro, Na'Vi, Vega Squadron, and Burden United are fighting for the last 3 spots. Basically Unknown will fade into obscurity as they are knocked out of this competition. I think that honestly, it looks like Na'Vi and Virtus Pro should be in a good spot to advance. Vega and Burden are going to be slugging it out this weekend to make sure that they maintain those positions. So if you want to watch some games for some desperate players who maybe make some big choices to get themselves in, check out the Vega and the BU games, Burden United not basically unknown, over in the Dream League this week because they should be a lot of fun to watch. That base prize pool, by the way, is $100,000. I don't know what it's grown up to. I have not had any of that information released. Any thoughts on the tournaments that we just ran over?
I think I've pretty much said it as much as you covered it. As you said, I think Na'Vi and VP should keep going in the Dream League. I don't see Vega or Burden United being a challenge for them. They're probably going to fight off for the last spot.
I agree with that. So what we're going to do, guys, is we are going to go to a break in just a second. Got to pay the bills. And when we come back, we are going to be live with Alex, or Statick, as you may know him, the manager for the guys from Root Gaming. He's going to talk a little about the North American qualifiers and what it feels like, what the plan is, and what to expect going forward. So stick around. We've got a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with Alex. Here we go.
Razer Comms is a free all-in-one communication tool that allows you to stay in touch with friends both in and out of the game. With features such as friendless, groups, mobile SMS forwarding, and call notifications, Razer Comms is a communication solution for the dedicated gamer. Razer Comms' minimal in-game overlay has a panel that grabs all your messages and lets you see who is speaking in a voice call without interrupting your game.
Now I'll always know who's breathing into the mic.
It's always me.
By pairing Razorcom's mobile with your PC, your friends can call you, no matter where you are.
All right, welcome back. I'm here with Alex Gilbert, the manager for Root Gaming, also known as Statick Dota. I hear he also manages Boreal Esports, so this guy has a very busy schedule. Alex, glad you could join us. Now let's talk about the North American qualifiers. In my humble opinion, and this is a humble opinion, I think that there is a very good potential that the NA qualifiers could be as exciting, and you could see as many upsets in it as we're expecting from the EU hub. I think a lot of folks are saying the EU qualifiers are going to be really intense, a lot of great teams playing there, but I feel like the NA qualifiers have the potential to be very evenly matched and to see some major upsets.
Yeah, for sure. I think the NA qualifier is going to be seriously so ham. We're going to have so every team, I think, are pretty much matched in skills. Maybe Mouse Sports has a slight advantage because they got so many known players that have been in the scene for so long. But besides that, I think everyone can just take it. If anyone knocks out Mouse Sports, and then it's just a wild card. Everyone's gonna beat each other, take games off each other, I think.
Absolutely. So when we let's talk about Root specifically.
Yep.
What have the guys been doing? What are they doing to prepare for this tournament? What's their mindset going into this thing?
I wouldn't reveal specific strategies that they've been developing over the last few weeks just to prepare properly for the tournament. But basically, the guys have been practicing really, really hard. They've been scrimming with all the teams in the qualifier. They have they try to scrim mostly the team that they will play. It's a pretty mind game because you don't really want to give out all your strategies, so you can't keep playing the same team because obviously they're gonna know what kind of hero you're picking. So it's kind of a mind game where you want to do your best and get better, but at the same time you don't want to show all your cards yet. So I think right now it's pretty funny what's happening between all those teams.
Okay, so let me ask you, and let's see if we can level with me on this one. It seems like everyone has Mouse Sports on the top of their compendium list. When you look at compendium qualifiers, everybody's got Mouse there. They've got what you could say was the best carry in the world in the last patch, carrying their team. They don't have to worry about visa issues going into Seattle. Can anybody beat Mouse Sports, or is this pretty much a guaranteed position?
No, I definitely think that Mouse Sports is a team that is beatable. They've been beaten in the last tournaments. They're not invincible at all. I think any of those teams can take games out of Mouse Sports. They're definitely really good players. I would honestly expect them to do better than they actually are right now. But as of now, I think they're not that scary.
So do you think that they're overhyped, or do you think that it's just maybe the rest of the North American scene is underhyped?
I don't think they're overhyped. I think it's just the player individually have a lot of respect from the scene. Everyone knows Black is a really good carry, and to match him with tier 2 NA Dota seems like he's gonna just win, but they are not actually just winning. They're losing games to almost everybody.
So when we look at the list, a lot of folks have Mouse number one, and that's not the only important spot, right? There's the first position gets an automatic bid into TI. The second position goes into a wild card playoff. And the second position, there's a lot of waffling there. A lot of folks are saying North American rejects based on their performance recently. Not Today is listed constantly there. Some folks thought they'd get a direct invite even potentially. Though after their summit performance, that is a little bit in question. Are there other teams, including perhaps yours, that you think are in a legitimate fight for that second spot?
Of course, I include Root in that position. I even think they can win. But if I had to name another team, I think Complexity are probably going to be the underdog of this tournament. They had a lot of team issues in the past few months, but right now it seems that they're back on track with Moonbeender. They're playing really, really well.
That's true.
And I think they're going to be a really hard team to beat in this tournament.
So Complexity is your sleeper pick. When we talk about which games to watch, because it sounds like we're going to have some options. All these games are running at the same time. What is it about Root's style of play that you as a manager have been most impressed with that we should look for as viewers?
I think Root is not doing much funky. They're just doing their stuff well. They play safe. They actually play really, really safe. They don't take risk. As soon as they get an advantage, they don't try to push it too hard. They play safe and they try to win late game, and that's obviously working pretty well for them. I think their best quality is being able to just pull back instead of overextending. That's a lot of teams have issues with that, especially late game. It's really hard to just say, all right, let's go back to farming. Even if we're late game, we can't keep pushing. Even if you have an Aegis, sometimes you have an Aegis and it's about to expire and you need to take this decision, let's go back. There's not a lot of teams that are able to do that properly, and I think Root is one of them.
So level-headedness seems to be a trait that they have. And I guess one could bring up the idea that the North American scene is plagued by a sort of icy hot mentality, right? Sometimes teams are amazing in the North American scene, and the next week in a tournament, they're just like, what the heck is wrong with you guys? Is that a symptom of the North American gaming culture, or do you think that that's just a strange perception by the fans? Do they really play that way, hot cold, do you think?
I think there's a lot of hot and cold actually. It's probably related to the mindset, as you just said. The North American Dota has always been about having an ego and just showing that you're the best. But when you want to play in a team in a competitive level, as soon as two people are like that, it clashes, and you can have a tournament off just because of that. Two people don't like each other, and they just they cut down their performance because of that.
Now, will you guys be playing this at a LAN situation, or is this all going to be online for qualifiers?
For the qualifiers, it's all online. I don't know about what's happening after there's a relegation tournament. That's the wild card from last year, if I understand. I don't know if that one is going to be in LAN, but the first portion is all online, yeah.
Do you know of any teams that have decided to sort of relocate for the sake of the qualifiers for better internet connections, or does it seem pretty much everybody's staying in their standard locations?
I don't know if Not Today actually is in US because of that, or it's because their flight got canceled after the Beyond the Summit. But I heard yesterday that Not Today was still in United States, and they don't know when they're leaving. Oh. So maybe they're just staying here for the qualifiers, so they have better pings.
That would make sense. Interesting. So, have you guys at Root Gaming specifically changed your training regimen in the weeks leading up to? Is there any special any special differences, whether it's diet, whether it's working out, whether it's sleeping more, that we've seen to sort of modify to prepare for qualifiers, or is it business as usual at the Root place?
In the past months, it's been pretty much Root has been practicing all day, nonstop. They are one of the teams that practice the most I've ever seen. But in the last week and this week, they've been more focusing on having one or two good best of 3 per days, so they don't burn out for the qualifier. They just want to be well rested and be ready to perform next week.
Okay. Now, just for the sake of our viewers who may not be familiar with Root Gaming, do you want to give us a quick rundown of the roster and maybe what each of those players is perhaps best known for?
We have Moo on carry. This guy is not actually well known in the scene, but I think he's been performing as well as any other carries that have been there for a long time. He actually replaced, because 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half, we had to replace a player because he found out that he had to work full time, so he didn't have time to practice as much as the others wanted. That was Guanzo. He was playing in the offlane. So what we had to do is rotate Monkeys forever from the carry role to the offlane role. And then we recruited Moo because we knew he was really dedicated and he could put up the time we wanted to.
Okay.
And it's basically all been about practicing for TI. They've been focusing on this for the last 2 months, I'd say. On the middle lane, we have TC. Obviously, he's a known player. He hasn't been known that much for his middle lane, but I think he's really solid. He once again, he's not like a super flashy player, but he always gets his farm. He always gets his levels. He never like loses lane completely. He plays safe. He performs well. It's fun to have like a big stable pillar in the mid lane, allow us to make a lot more rotations and prevent the snowballing mids. Monkeys is on the off lane, as I said earlier. He's been playing that role for not too long. He's still learning, so sometimes he has issues, but I think he still brings, since he's been playing other roles so much, he brings something that the other teams are not expecting in the offlane. Sometimes we can pick some unusual offlane heroes just because he's really comfortable on those heroes. So I think he can bring a lot to the team too. We have Fun and Fluff on supports. Fluff is as well another past Team Liquid member. It's pretty much well known. Fun is like our 6th role player. He doesn't have a lot of farm, but he doesn't die. Like usually you see the 6th role is always like feeding pretty hard, but I think his positioning is really, really good, and he managed to like do his role without items, and he's always well positioned in team fights.
Now, is there a game that you think has been played in maybe the last couple of weeks or month that if our fans are looking to learn a little bit about Root and sort of see a great game by Root Gaming to get familiar with you, that they could go back and check out?
I don't have one specifically in mind. What bothers me a little that we got like the final of Red Bulls, we got the final of BTS. We got so close so many times of qualifying for a LAN. I think this one is going to be the good one, and we can finally get a LAN in our pocket. So I would say like watch the next week, because this is our time to shine.
Awesome. Now, before we wrap up, I want to know, what are the players' mindsets moving forward? So there has to be conversation, right? If there isn't, that's even cooler. That, this may not be RTI. Maybe the next one is going to be RTI. Do the players look like they are in this for the sort of long term, or is this a team that is going to reconsider their values after TI ends?
The guys are absolutely good friends, so there hasn't been a talk of what's going to happen if we don't qualify for TI, and are we going to keep playing, but I'm fairly sure that they will keep playing even if they don't qualify. They're pretty good friends, and the atmosphere in the team has been really good, so I think they're going to keep going, and we should see them more in the upcoming tournaments, especially with the majors.
Yeah.
Last year, it was like, if you don't qualify for TI, we'll wait another year, and that's pretty depressing for a Tier 2 team.
Absolutely.
But with the majors, it's much more motivating to keep practicing and keep your roster stable.
Well, and it stands to reason that the majors will all have million-plus prize pools. I mean, we saw in the DAC that you can have a mid-season 2.5er, which means some pretty big tournaments, some pretty good opportunities for teams that don't have to wait a year. And now, it does sound, when I think about your roster and the names that you named, that you guys have some very popular players, some actually decently well-known individual players from NEL, from pubs, from streams, from things like that. They just don't, with the exception of maybe Fluff, have that sort of LAN pedigree that we're used to seeing in champion teams. Do you think that pedigree has been coming along quickly? Because, I mean, you guys have been competing at a very high level over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think it's honestly like Dota is so volatile. I think like we've been unlucky with like our positioning in tournaments. If you check Red Bull, we had like the biggest run to do. We have to beat basically every good team was on our way, and we started the further back we could, and we managed to pull out really far in the finals actually. So I think it's only come to if we give them more opportunity to play. At some point, they're just gonna take them and become the champions.
Awesome. So here's a question that I think is interesting, and a lot of our viewers have sort of been struggling with a little bit is the Summer's Rift situation. The fact that there was a strange... and I'm going to first say, I don't know all the details, guys. I was prepping for Summit. I was doing some other stuff. So when this chaos went down, I wasn't in my chair watching it. But from what I understand, they made a change to their offlane, and that got them knocked from the qualifier invites down to the open qualifier, which, as you brought up with Boreal Esports, is a very volatile place to be and was proved volatile enough that they did not get through. Do you think that that was the correct reaction on Valve's part to bump them down, or do you think that they should have been allowed that change?
I think that was absolutely correct. Like, there's no way when you get an invite that you should be allowed to just say, let's kick one of our players. Like, we got the invite, we're okay. Like, you can't do that just before TI. That's not smart at all, and it's not cool for someone who's been practicing for months for this to just get his spot removed like that. So I think Valve made the good call on that, and I was here when the drama happened, and I was following every bit of it. I think...
Are you allowed to... Can you let us in on the drama? Since normally I'm pretty good at updating my viewers, I just don't know what happened.
What happened exactly is that they had internal issues, as in good old any team, and good everyone has internal issues, and they decided because of commitment, internal reasons, that they wanted to get rid of Miracle Chipmunk. So they asked around. They wanted to get IX Mike on board, and he kind of wanted it, but when he heard Rift lost his spot because of that, he decided to stay with his team. So that brings even more drama with, like, I don't know how Will is feeling right now, but the team atmosphere has to be bad because they obviously know that he was going to leave. And then when Rift saw that they lost their spot, they tried to get Miracle back, but he said, like, fuck off, I'm not going back with you guys. So they decided to run back to the open qualifiers. And as well, from what I understand, when they decided to tell Miracle he was off the team, it wasn't like a team decision. It's actually like they talked about it, and one of them decided to go at Miracle and tell him. So yeah, that was pretty much what happened.
Sounds brutal and sounds as quintessentially North American Dota as we can get. So, lot going on, a lot of drama already, a lot of storylines developing in the North American qualifiers as well as the qualifiers abroad. This is setting up, guys, to be, in my opinion, the best TI to date as far as competitive nature of the teams, as far as every region having someone who is there to compete. Keep in mind, I would say 3 years, some would say less than that, maybe 2 years even. I would say North American Dota wasn't really even in the discussion in terms of who's coming out to TI and who's going to win this thing. We had players, but not teams. And now we're in a point where we have one major team that, everybody knows is God Mode. And then we have a lot of teams in the qualifiers who are developing very, very well, who say to me that they are going to, if they stick together and keep their personalities clicking, that they could do really well, if not in this TI, in the next one. So I think this is a very good time for North American Dota, and I myself am very excited about sitting back and watching the qualifiers. Is there anything in the qualifiers you're really looking forward to watching?
I don't have a specific one that I'm looking forward. I think every matches are going to be pretty good one. Obviously, like the favorites, like Cole versus Mouse Sports, Root versus Cole, those matches has to be interesting. As you said, I think if you compare with last year, there's so many there's like so many more good NA teams. The tier 2 scene actually exploded. I think this is due because of the TI qualifiers from last year. Like, a lot of people saw the teams in TI American qualifier last year and were like, oh man, like, I could easily be there. And then the scene just exploded. So I think if it keeps going that way, at some point we're going to reach the gap of the Europe teams. And obviously the Europe and the Eastern scene are a lot stronger than the American scene, but we're getting there.
Excellent. All right, and a last question before we sign out. I want to get your opinion on eHug EHUG, a team that was included in the potential direct invite list and then wasn't invited to qualifiers, and then through the mistake of Summer's Rift is now in the qualifiers. Does that seem like sort of a weird progression to you?
I think EHUG was the obvious choice to make when they decided to remove Summoner's Rift. I think they were the next team on the list, but I wouldn't disagree with any in the team that they invited. I think they all have, like, Valve is not judging teams only by their skills. Like, we can see Leviathan hasn't have like really good results, but they're really good at promoting themselves and showing that you can have a stable roster in any Dota. So I think Valve appreciated that, and I think it's fine that they invited them instead of EHUG, because EHUG has been really AWire in the past months, and they changed roster all around. The new EHUG roster seems pretty solid. They have a better team chemistry than the last one, so I don't know what's gonna happen. I haven't seen them much playing yet, but I think they have a lot of potential too.
Awesome. So I think that about sums up our time for the show today. I had a great time having you here. I hope you enjoyed stopping by, Statick. Do you want to give out any shout-outs or what's-ups before we sign out for the night?
Yeah, sure. Shout out to the root sponsors, TT Esports, CyberPower PC, Esports Clouding, Esports Gaming, Twitch. I'm probably forgetting some, but I'm trying to learn them. Shout out to you, man. I love what you're doing, and you're climbing the ladder right now, and you're getting seen in more and more tournaments. I'm happy for you. Keep going that way.
Thank you. One rung at a time. Boys and girls, it's been wonderful having you here. A big shout out to our sponsors, Dotacasters.com, Razer, and Betway for supporting the show, and obviously to you, the viewers, whether you're listening on iPod, RSS, SoundCloud, YouTube, whatever the source is, we appreciate your support. It means the world to me. If you are on iTunes, make sure you give us a review so we can get the podcast feature of the week, because that would be pretty sweet. And finally, if you want to support the show directly, Patreon.com is the best way to do it. Patreon.com/Toffees. Now, I want to show you one thing before we log off. This is the new hat, guys. If you want to get it, you can. I'll be putting it up on the below the fold here on the Twitch channel, as well as over on the Patreon. Just a Coffee with Toffees hat. It is fitted. This one is signed by all the guys from VG, so I probably won't be selling that one, but you can get your own copy if you want to support the show. We'll have those up in the next week or two. That said, have a wonderful evening. We appreciate you being here. Thank you again to Alex. You've been a great addition to the show. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and as always, Toffees out.